The disappearance of Jay Slater was one of the biggest news stories in the last year, and what followed was just insane levels of speculation about what happened to this young British lad who went on his first holiday and disappeared. Unfortunately, he was later found dead like a month after going missing. There was like a massive fracture to his skull. He had significant injuries. And the official story given was that this young lad got up in the morning after staying over at a friend's Airbnb, decided to try and walk home when the place he was staying was 25 miles away. And remember, that's in the heat of Tenerife, which after a night out on booze and drugs is not exactly what most people want to do at 8 o'clock in the morning. And for no apparent reason, he went in the wrong direction and was going up the mountain instead of down. And then we're led to believe he willingly went off-road, for no reason in particular, into rough terrain, like horrendous terrain that no one would ever choose to go in. And what makes it even more weird is that the night before he was posting on his Snapchat to people that, you know, him and his mates that he was out that night with had stolen a watch off a guy, and then later sent another message to a friend with him with knives like stuffed down his trousers saying, in case anything kicks off, when he was at that Airbnb. And then he was walking through this rough terrain. He gets a phone call off a friend of his saying, why don't you just turn around and go back to the place you were at? And he says, I can't go back there. And then he willingly continues through this rough terrain before apparently falling to his death with no foul play involved. And despite how dangerous it obviously was to go in that direction he went in, there was still no apparent reason why he did that. It's just, yeah, it was just an accident, one of those things. And as it happens, Channel 4 have done a documentary on the entire disappearance of Jay Slater situation, and I'm going to react to it today, and let's see what they've uncovered.
Hello, how can I help you?
My friend, he's met some people and they've drove him up into the mountains. I don't know why. And he's left the house. I don't know if something happened, and I was telling him, you need to go back to your friends and tell them to drive you back down. And he said, no, I can't, but I don't know why that was.
And I don't know why he couldn't go back there. One reason to go off in the most dangerous direction, in the most difficult to walk through direction, is because you're more scared of what's chasing you than you are of where you're walking. And you want to make it as hard to catch you as possible. That actually makes more sense than choosing to go in a really difficult direction when you could just walk down the road. And I'm not saying that means that that's what happened. I'm just saying, like, sitting here with, well, he just decided to go off in that direction. It doesn't feel logical to me. And I know he was on drugs, so maybe that's part of it, but loads of people are on drugs in Tenerife. They don't do this every day.
The last person to hear from him was his friend Lucy. He called her with just 1% battery remaining on his phone.
They're going to do an autopsy on his actual body. That's actually Jay Slater's body. And that gives us the impression that they're not going to leave any stone unturned in this documentary. Like, they're literally going to go into every single detail. So in theory, we should be at a good place after this documentary to know what the fuck happened, roughly.
His first holiday on his own. His passport, when it came, the dog ate it. The dog got up on the table, I don't know how, and then he chewed it to bits, and it were in his cage. I said to Jay, flipping out, you've only had this passport 2 days.
Isn't that mad that the dog ate his passport before a holiday that he didn't come back from? Like, that is weird, isn't it? Dogs can sense stuff, do you know what I mean? Not always, sometimes they're just stupid and they just want to eat a passport, but... Why was he not allowed back into Papagayo though? Was it because he was too fucked? Was it because he was doing stuff in there that he shouldn't have been? Like, why is that not explained in any way?
Right, what you doing? And where are you? I'm coming down to get you now. If you're not there this time, I'm going to be fucking fuming.
Interesting that she's having to, like, act like a mother to him, this Lucy girl. If you're leaning towards he just went off and did this on his own and he's just a liability, like, the way she's talking, it sounds like he's a bit of a liability. Like, she's panicking about him. She doesn't have confidence that he can just look after himself by that tone of voice. So the two dudes he ended up going back to the Airbnb with, this is the Airbnb. I sat outside, he's having a smoke.
I were at work. I got a call from Lucy. She just said, Jay's missing. He didn't come back last night. She just said, I've reported him missing to the police. My legs were just like jelly. I've just gone into panic.
Why are we not hearing from Lucy in this documentary? Like, she was the one who was talking to him. I get it, we want to hear from the mother, obviously, but, like, she was the boots on the ground, Lucy. She was involved. She was the one who seen him, you know, that night. Why are we not hearing from her or any of the other friends?
So they found this place knocked on the door and there's 2 English lads there, and all they've said is, oh yeah, he's been here but he left this morning.
Oh, it's a bit odd that they've not given you any details of where he's gone, isn't it?
I said, what, they've done something to him?
Yeah, we all tried to ring, of course, but how can you get lost in Tenerife?
It's interesting that both parents' initial reactions were, what if the lads at the Airbnb have done something to him? And how is it possible to get lost in Tenerife? So they're skeptical from the get-go. Just like a lot of the YouTubers and TikTokers who covered this were. They're like, this doesn't sound right.
We arrived, come outside the airport, and my phone went, and it were a WhatsApp message. And it were a disappearing message. You know, the ones that only stay, as soon as you read them, they go. I looked at it and I just said to Zach, take a photograph of this. I'll give you one warning, your son won't be coming back. He owes us enough fucking G money. Kiss goodbye to him.
This is mental, because the official story is he just wandered off into the most dangerous terrain possible on his own and fell and was killed by the fall. But like, you've literally got a message to his mother saying your son won't be coming back. Kiss goodbye to him. I'm not saying it's impossible that people can't be dicks or whatever and be fake about it, but like, the circumstances already were fucking really dodgy and quite suspicious. A message like that is mind-blowing, considering he did end up dead. If I was the parents here and I got a message like that and then he does end up dead, it would be very hard for me to ever believe fully that nothing sinister happened. I couldn't believe it after that, even if I wanted to, which I'm sure you would rather believe that.
The terrain, can't really explain it until you get off that path. Everything wants to cut you.
When you see the terrain in context like that and you zoom right out and you just see how fucking horrible it is and how unforgiving it is, why on earth would anyone choose to walk in that direction logically? It doesn't add up, man. It never did. And I understand, like, you know, you've been on drugs, you're stupid, you're young, you're silly, but it still doesn't make sense to me that
Story surfaced that he'd gone off with people who they'd met, Rocky and Ayub. Found out Ayub is a convicted drug dealer. He had served time in prison. Jay is very, very sociable and loved meeting new people and probably a bit too trusting.
Jay also had a criminal record of his own. There was an attack on some lad, a gang of lads, beat the fuck out of some kid, and there was weapons and all that. And that's why I think the mood turned a lot when he first went missing, when that story came out, because then they went to thinking he's a bit of a wrong and maybe he got caught up in stuff, which isn't necessarily true, but it's valid information.
There are still so many questions about what happened, why he came here, and most importantly, where Jay is now.
Well, you know where I'd stop? Probably talking to the 2 dudes who he was hanging out with before he fucked off. Where are they on this documentary? Where's his friends, the last people to speak to him? I'm still waiting, because if we're going to look at his body and we're going to do all autopsy type shit, surely you do the basics. Because as much as his mum's speaking very well here and that, she wasn't there at the time. She wasn't the last people to see him. They're the important ones right now.
We were told that when Jay was up in Masca, the doorbell went around 7:45 a.m. and it was the owner of the Airbnb. He needed Ayub to move his car, and apparently that's when Jay decided to leave.
This is the house where Jay came in the early hours of Monday morning. We have spoken to an eyewitness.
I saw the boy in the morning at around 8 a.m. He asked twice what time the bus came. I told him at 10 o'clock.
She then says about 20 minutes later, she was driving up towards the mountains and hills. She said that she saw him walking there and she drove past him.
It doesn't make sense, does it? It's just not logical. Like, the fact that you've been out all night, you're probably fucked, right? You're wrecked. You want to just sleep all day. That's what young lads want to do after they've been partying all night. But to then get up and try and walk when you live 25 miles away. You could have rang for a taxi. I think his mates offered to pay for the taxi when he got to the destination, sort of thing. Could have easily done that. Why massively inconvenience yourself by going walking when you live that far away and then walking in the wrong direction? There's just so many illogical things for me to believe here. And like, is it possible? Anything's fucking possible, but it's not logical. What's frustrating so far is none of that is being questioned in this documentary. Like, none of that is being addressed, and hopefully we'll get to that.
Right, what time are we on? Are we on the...
8 o'clock.
Right, so this is more or less the right time then. Oh, it's open. Here's the B&B. Nice inside. Well, literally, as soon as you come out the door, the bus stops there. But he's been told that there's not a bus until 10 o'clock, so...
Could you not have just waited till 10 o'clock then? Even if you're feeling good, you wouldn't walk 25 fucking miles. Let alone hungover, rough as fuck, unless there was a reason why you felt like you had to leave the fucking building.
Logic tells you the easiest way, you walk down a hill instead of walking up a hill.
Even his parents, who probably want to believe the official story is right, even they're like, okay, that doesn't make sense. They're acknowledging that.
Just being back here and just thinking what he was thinking, and just how the eye deceives when you stood here and you just look just there and you can see the sea. Is that what he thought? The sea's there. Why walk round all these windy roads and I can just get through there?
What you can see there, though, is how steep that fucking hill is. To walk down an angle like that, it's no fucking joke. Could he have looked there? Maybe. But there's not a fucking bone in my body that would have thought that. So I can't relate. I don't get why that would have been the appealing decision to take here. Especially if you're rough as fuck. Even people with fucking hiking gear on and like proper who live and brave that would have thought, nah, fuck that. Mate, look at the terrain. So they stood on that little cliff there. Look at how fucking steep it is.
It's just a nightmare. It's just an absolute living nightmare. It's like a dream. It's like it's not happening. It really is. It really is.
Is it me, or does it look like she's just kind of putting this on as an act? I swear to you, I feel like this is an act.
I wish this all ended.
You know, I feel like at this point, she knows what the crack is. She's been told what the crack is. And she ain't letting the police know. She ain't letting anyone know. But the circle, the family, they know.
Whenever anything like this happens and it's in the public eye, everyone's going to pick every single thing apart. And there's always going to be people who read too much into, like, appeals and all of that. Like, there's not one that goes by now that people don't go, they're lying, they're in on it, they're in on it. That happens in everything, right? It's an unfortunate part of YouTube. However, when people were picking it apart, one of the legitimate criticisms that they did have of her was that she said, I can't bear to go looking for him because I'm scared, like, kind of like I'm scared of what I might find sort of thing. She was criticized for that because, like, that's a mother should go out and look for him. And I got that at the time. I remember thinking, yeah, I get why people are saying that, but equally, I never thought at any point that she knew what the fuck was going on or that she was in on anything at all personally. And actually, I think she's came across really well in this documentary. Very emotional, very sincere. I think you can feel a bit more of their relationship and that she just loved that kid.
I've not once seen a helicopter up here. I feel like they keep checking the same area. Obviously, he's not there. They've checked that and checked that and checked that. I feel like the search needs to be made much wider.
We've been missing for 10, 11 days. I'm praying he comes home every night. I still got hope for him. I still feel like he's somewhere.
They've just used 2 old interviews of the friends and they've used 5 seconds of each of them. They've not got them on here saying what it was like, saying what happened, saying about interactions at all. Nothing. Not one thing. Now, have those people, because obviously one of them didn't even show their face there, have they declined to be a part of this? Like, it makes no sense to not have them speaking on this whatsoever. If we're now doing some sort of inquest here in this documentary, then there needs to be people like them giving as much information as humanly possible. And I found it weird at the time that the girl he was away with, instead of appealing to the nation by showing her face, showing her emotions, showing the distraught, please, 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 can you find him, and appealing to the nation, she chose to hide her face. I found that weird. And that isn't me fucking saying she has anything to do with it. Who the fuck knows? But I'm just saying it's weird, because it is. He was away with 3 kids, apparently. One didn't show her face on the interview. One waited 11 days, 12 days to come and do an interview. And even that, it wasn't great in terms of being informative about anything. And then the other one has never, ever spoken publicly. It's unusual behavior from people who are desperate to have their friend found immediately. Doesn't mean that they had anything to do with it. Maybe they're involved with certain things that they don't want people knowing that they were up to that night. And they just want to keep it as private as possible. In the event that someone's missing and potentially dead, a lot of that should go out the window, in my opinion, and you should be prioritising the search, and it just felt strange.
There was a video that got sent into a group chat from Jay's phone, and it was a little tiny video, like 2 seconds, and it was somebody driving a car, and there was the caption across, and it said, just stolen a Rolex watch, off to get 10k. And then there were another screenshot that he apparently sent to somebody else. I'm like, what is this?
Those posts about stolen watches, when you consider that this was the final hours leading up to his disappearance and then death, they make me suspicious. As they fucking should, right? Like, yeah, could he be bullshitting? Could he just be bragging, trying to look like a gangster? Yeah, he could. But he ended up dead not long after this. And usually in the run-up to someone's death, the things that are happening in the minutes and hours beforehand can have a major impact on that happening. For example, Tupac stole a guy's chain before he got fucking shot up. Things can happen. And I'm certainly not comparing this little lad to Tupac, but you get the point. Like, was this a domino effect? Sometimes when you steal a fucking watch, the people who you walk away with and you think, we've just stole that watch, tell you afterwards, no, we stole the watch. You don't get to keep shit, bro. And did he fucking try and run away with the watch in the morning? Who the fuck knows? Oh, they didn't find a watch on him. Maybe when he was running away with it, he fucking ditched it somewhere. He thought, I'm going to come back, I'll get that later. Who knows? The point is, I wouldn't just dismiss this as just bragging because of what ended up happening to him. It's possible he's telling the truth.
I know one of the lads who met Jay, he seemed to think that Jay was scared and had knives, so I need to know, did he have a knife in his possession? Every day going down a different route because of another theory.
He sent a picture of him with knives on him in the Airbnb. On the one hand, he's just drugged up, he's trying to act gangster, maybe slightly paranoid for no reason. On the other hand, maybe there's a reason he did that. Maybe he was fucking scared for his life. The fact that he died not long later, it's giving maybe he might have been scared about something. And again, nothing can be proven about this right now, but I'm just saying to have questions about this is only natural.
Watch thief, drug dealer. My son hasn't gone to Tenerife, been there 3 days and turned into Pablo Escobar.
He hasn't turned into Pablo Escobar, but he clearly wanted to portray himself as a bit of a gangster. And he himself had committed a crime in the past. And he clearly gravitated. Like, what kind of young lads like, yeah, I'll just go home with these two blokes who are fucking in their 30s, who apparently have a criminal history. Why would you do that unless you wanted to be one of the big boys? Because when I was 19... you didn't want to be hanging around with blokes in their fucking 30s. You wanted to be going back with girls and stuff like that. It's just an odd thing to do. And why did the lads in their 30s want to hang out with a 19-year-old lad? Maybe they're just chill guys, right? Maybe they're just chill guys. That's entirely possible. They're just like, yeah, if you want to hang out with us, hang out with us. It could be innocent. It could be completely innocent. But it's just weird.
These people who were big on social media Googled Jay's name. 3 years ago, Jay, he was part of a trial of 8 people where this lad had got a gash to the back of his head.
Skull exposed, by the way. The gash must have been horrendous.
They've all got together in a disused warehouse. Somebody's been attacked and apparently this whole group of people have all had weapons. He was there, he's admitted he was there.
Jay got convicted of violent disorder and got community service.
He wants to be a gangster. He wants to be a hard lad. Doesn't mean he's a terrible person and that he was always going to be a wrong one, but it's not a good look.
People's perception changes then. He's just a normal lad on holiday who's gone missing, and then they dig his past up and they're, oh, hang on a minute, he's a machete-wielding maniac.
That's exactly what happened. Perception did change, and he was involved. So that's not the fault of the people doing the research. It's the fault of him being there when a guy apparently had to run for his life away from a pack of wolves who were like brutalizing him. That's not the internet's fault. That's Jay Slaters' fault for being involved, just to be clear. As much as I have empathy for all these people because they've clearly lost someone they love, that's the truth of the matter.
Look at the scale of the cliffs in front. So he hasn't gone up. There's only one way he could have gone, which is down. I was shocked at the difficulty of the terrain where Jay had wandered into. My lungs were burning. It was a heat trap. I was dehydrated. I was tired. I was frustrated.
This guy, I remember him from the time, was like a bit of an expert at this sort of shit, right? And even he was struggling like fuck. Again, raises the question, why the fuck would you choose to do that? If this man who came prepared is struggling, why would you go off into the direction of struggle? The only logical explanation I can think of is you're running away from someone and you want them to have that struggle and you're prepared to go towards the danger to get away from something that you think is even more dangerous. Because willingly going towards danger for no apparent reason, I don't care what the fuck the scenario is, doesn't make any sense.
As you can see on my temperature gauges, above 30 degrees now. As I went through that landscape, it became more and more difficult. Jay had no communications. He had no experience of the landscape, no idea where he was.
No water, no other means of survival. I mean, it's fucking disaster waiting to happen. And now, a word from our sponsors. I've just come back from a hell of a trip to Las Vegas, and I'm still a bit hungover now, but the one thing that made that trip a lot easier was Saily. You see, with Saily, the minute you land in your destination, you can use your phone immediately. And what I love about Saily is when you're connected to a Saily eSIM, they're actually faster than the hotel Wi-Fi. And I'm not having to disconnect from the hotel Wi-Fi, wait until I get to the next location, then find out the password. None of that nonsense is going on. You land, you get connected, you stay connected. It's very easy to use. They've got 24/7 support, and they'll give you a full refund if you're not happy. You download it once, and whenever you're going somewhere, you just buy a plan for that country and you're good to go. And the beauty is you're going to get 15% off your first purchase when you click my link in the description below. So what are you waiting for? Go to saily.com/Geordie for 15% off.
Nearly a month now, the family of the missing British teenager Jay Slater had hoped he might be found after he went missing on the island of Tenerife. Well, today that hope ended after the Spanish Civil Guard confirmed that members of a mountain rescue team had found a body.
It took them a whole month of searching to find him. That's how difficult it was to get to that spot. On the one hand, if you were someone who had a hold of Jay and this was something that was done to Jay, you would try and get him as far away as possible, as unfindable as possible, so that the remains never get found, as opposed to Jay himself trying to go as far away from the road as possible. That doesn't mean that's what happened to him, but just speculating, it took them a whole month when they even knew roughly where to look. It still took them that long.
So even after Jay was found, there were more crazy conspiracy theories which continued.
They're saying crazy conspiracy theories, right? Someone said still believe he was murdered. The mother herself got a message right after he'd gone missing saying you're never getting him back. I don't think it's then crazy to go when he turns up dead going, yeah, he was murdered. It's not crazy to make that leap when you're getting actual messages from people saying we're going to kill him. It's not crazy when it's the least logical thing for a guy to willingly go in that direction and disappear when he could have got a taxi. He's messaging people saying I can't go back there. The night before he's saying we stole a watch. The night before he's showing pictures of him holding knives saying just in case it kicks off inside the Airbnb. I don't think that to make a leap to say he was murdered is crazy at all, by the way. I think you're actually just missing a few small, pieces of evidence to put that all together. It's not a crazy thing to suggest. Is it possible that they're wrong? Yes, it's possible that they're wrong. It doesn't mean it's crazy, in my opinion, to say that he was murdered at all. They've got, I never believe it was an accident. Do you think foul play was involved? That isn't crazy. What's crazy is just going, yeah, just an accident there. One of those things. Let's just all go home. That would be crazy to not even suspect it. When in this documentary, all of the people who could give you the most amount of information haven't shown their fucking face once, by the way. Where's his friends? Where's the last people to see him? Why are they not giving as much information to us as possible to piece it all together? Because that's what I would do. If you ask me, that's crazy. And again, it doesn't mean that it wasn't an accident, that the official story isn't right, but it's just not normal that.
Jay Slater will have a post-mortem in the UK so that we know what has happened to him and we have the experts on hand to testify at the inquest.
Okay, so we are going to get some information from the scientists to tell us what was in his body, what injuries he suffered and all of that stuff.
There were some people who had met Jay on holiday who had been with him that night and they did have information, so they was going to approach Lancashire Police.
Yes, they've confirmed the three names of the people that they've obtained statements from, which was Josh Forshaw, Lucy Law and Brandon Hodgson.
This is Brandon here. He knew the guys at the Airbnb. No appearance from him in this at all.
At some point during those calls to Brandon, Bradley and Lucy, he's taken a side path, a track. Lucy's advised him to turn around and head back up to the main road and that she'd make arrangements to either come pick him up or get a taxi.
And apparently there were 70 different phone calls roughly on the run up to when he went missing here. So what were all these fucking phone conversations saying? What was going on? That's a chaotic amount of phone calls. That's not nothing's really happening. That's a lot. What was said in them? Because I ain't got a fucking clue, and I've been following this.
I think the Geordie Civil, when they did the download, said there were 70 calls.
There you go. 70 calls suggests there's problems, there's trouble, there's aggro, something is going on. You don't do 70 fucking phone calls if nothing's occurring in your life, do you? That also makes me wonder what was going on to have that much communication going back and forward. Because the amount of back and forth that we've been given on when he got lost, it's not 70. We've been told about a handful of conversations he had with a couple of people. Nowhere near 70. So what was the 70 coming from? And it doesn't make you a conspiracy theorist to fucking ask that kind of question.
This is the last call where he's rung Lucy back at 10 to 9, and it's just for 22 seconds. And then Lucy's messaging him then the morning of the 17th at 8:35.
Before it gets boiling, go back to wherever the fuck you've just come from.
But then she's saying that when she's spoken to him on the voice call that he's saying, I can't.
By the way, the fall that Jay had was 25 metres. That's an extremely high drop. Now, I don't know about you lot, but I've dropped my phone 1 metre and had more damage done to it than that. That's quite amazing to me. I'm not saying that that proves anything or points to anything. It's just strange. Some might say the phone just fucking got lucky. Some might say maybe the fall wasn't what killed him. He was killed by a blow to the skull and he was placed where he was later found. I don't think that the phone proves that at all, but I'm just saying it's impressive that the phone is in such good condition.
Grazes all down this right leg, grazes on the left leg, significant injuries probably down the left arm with deep grazes going into the muscle and tissue.
I couldn't do this job, by the way. Like, looking at dead bodies months and months after they've died, it's fucking mental. You got to be weird to do that. But respect, you know, it's an important fucking job.
We can take a bit of liver. The samples of liver are going to be really useful for toxicology. But whether they work or not on liver that is this decomposed in this situation, we will have to wait and see.
Just watching Jay Slaters' liver being chopped up and put in a little tube. This is a mad documentary, by the way. And again, we're going to this level of research and detail, but we can't get the people who last fucking seen him to speak and say what they see. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't add up to me.
There is a massive skull fracture, indicative of very severe force on the left side of his head.
Which, you know, they've chalked off to a fall, I believe, but like, could that have been someone just smashing him over the head with something?
We've got some injuries that are clearly, however they're caused, instant unconsciousness and almost certainly instant death.
I hope that his mother, as bad as this is, can take some comfort from the fact that he wouldn't have fucking known anything was going on at that point, from that point onwards.
If I did something like that heinous and mad, like, why would I be on live chatting, bare chilled?
I'm not saying this guy did anything, because who the fuck knows? That's the whole point of this. But when he says, like, I wouldn't be doing this if I'd done anything. Maybe. But you know what? A lot of people who've killed people in the past have been uber confident, outspoken, loved the limelight. Ted Bundy was famous for it. So many people who've killed people before have acted like they've done nothing. That's actually not new. But look, maybe the kid's telling the truth. Who knows?
Videos on my phone where, like, me and him are videoing Rocky in the car where Rocky's sleeping on the front. And we're just laughing at him. You know what I'm saying? It was calm. Like, it was a vibe. Like,
2 bottles there.
Headshot. He looks like someone done a hit.
My problem is, how can you rely on a convicted drug dealer who's took your son, who's just a 19-year-old lad, into the belly of a mountain to an Airbnb which is 30 miles away from where you know he was staying?
And then after that, Jay ends up dead. And again, I'm not saying the guy did anything, but like, if you said the last people who you'd want to see your kid before they go to disappear, top of your list wouldn't be a convicted drug dealer, would it? You'd probably not want that if you could help it. And yeah, that doesn't mean anything actually happened, but it's just a dodgy looking story, innit?
I'd love to be able to pump them all with truth drugs. You know what I mean? Lie detectors. I'd love to be able to do things like that.
I don't blame him. Yeah, I don't blame him for that. You can tell the dad just by saying that wants to know more, doesn't fully believe everything that's been said.
There was an unsent message from Jay to Brad. So the message were obviously just flying around, and then the message sent to Brad, which obviously gave Brad a fright, because he messaged me straight away, "Are you on Jay's phone?" I said, "Yeah, we've just signed into his Snapchat." He said, "I've just got a message that's just come through from Jay. The last message he sent, he said, listen, I'm not going to make it.
That is a really fascinating message to have as his final message. Assuming he was the one who sent that, and let's not act like there's fucking husbands who killed their wives and kept texting people as if nothing was the matter for an entire week while they fucking buried her in the fucking back garden and shit. That's happened before, right? But assuming he sent it, it begs the question of why did you know you weren't going to make it? Because if you were killed by a fall, you didn't know that fall was coming. Maybe it was just the circumstances he was in. The heat's bearing down. He doesn't know where the fuck he is. He's panicking. He's having a lot of, anxiety and thoughts of, oh shit, this is it. Maybe that's all it was. But I think it's interesting that was his frame of mind, considering he was killed by an immediate slip, apparently, and he wouldn't have known anything about it.
That's his t-shirt that he was found in. There is trainers.
It's interesting that his trainers are bright silvery with black on them. On this Snapchat story where he's having a smoke outside the Airbnb, you can see his shoes here, and that's not socks. You can tell because socks you'd have a big pointy toe and then a row of smaller toes. That's a rounded edge like a shoe. The shoes he looks like he's wearing here look very dark. There's no bright silvery bits on them. And Jay that day was wearing silvery trainers. Now, that could mean, that's not Jay Slater and that's someone else pretending to be Jay Slater on his phone. It could mean that he just threw someone's fucking slippers on before going out for a smoke. But it is just a little bit strange that the shoes he was found in, that he went walking off in a matter of minutes after taking this, aren't what he's wearing right there. And you're looking at the t-shirt that he was wearing. Yeah, there's dust on there. But the level of head injury that they're saying he suffered, obviously there would have been a shitload of blood there. It doesn't look like there's much blood on there. There's none I can see on there. It's just not what I expected. It doesn't mean anything necessarily, but it's just not what I expected.
The toxicology report has come back. There is evidence of the use of MDMA, or ecstasy as it's also known. There's the use of cocaine in the hours prior to death. Although it shows that, yes, there was evidence of drugs within his system, it doesn't necessarily mean that this will form part of the cause of death.
He's a young adult and that's what they do when they go to festivals, so it's not
a shock. It's just upsetting. The way that he's died.
I know. It's really, I know, Debbie, I'm so sorry.
I think this is one of the most heartbreaking moments of the documentary, to be fair. It's like for her to hear the truth and know that that's what he was going through. If he did wander off and was just discombobulated, maybe it was down to the drugs. Maybe. Personally, when I've seen people do stuff drug related, it's been in the eye of the storm when they've been just taking it, they're full of fucking alcohol. It's not usually hours and hours and hours later, but that doesn't mean it's not possible. And clearly it's hitting her like, this is what my baby was doing out there. And the reality of it, it's undisputable when a scientist says this is what was in the system, and it's just hitting her hard, and I do feel for her.
Now, a major head injury at the end, so how do we explain that? Well, if he's falling down a mountainside, down scree, rough slopes, eventually he comes to a stop, and this is exactly what I would expect to see when the head hit something hard.
I'm not disagreeing with a scientist by any means. I'm just suggesting that, like, do you do many skulls that have fallen down mountains? I can't imagine that's a common thing for him. Is it not possible that someone smashed him one with a fucking weapon of some sort over the back of the head? Is that also possible? I'd be interested to know.
The one thing I can't rule out is that Jay was pushed at the top of a slope, just as I can't rule out whether someone has fallen downstairs on their own or is pushed down the stairs, because the push will leave no marks.
Fuck me. I mean, that's easily possible, isn't it?
This is the bag Jay had with him when he was found, and we got handed this from the Geordie Civil, and it's got his things in it, his driving licence, and then there's this bottle of aftershave, and then his lighters. So there were no knives in his bag. There was no drugs in his bag. There was no expensive watches in his bag. No AP watch, no Rolex watch. That's it. Bag empty.
And while that's interesting, it also doesn't disprove that he sent pictures to people with him holding knives, or that he did have a watch at some point that night. It doesn't disprove it.
So obviously we've read all the statements. An IUB statement, there is a mention of a watch that were taken off some Romanian guy, but IUB did say that it was a fake watch.
Whoa, all right. So there was a fucking watch. That is not up for debate now. But it was fake. You don't want a fake Rolex, it's fine. I'll take it. Like, that's possible. But the fact that we've had it confirmed that there was a watch and that was a true story that happened that night, wow. That, to me, then adds a bit more sense to the fact that he was sending a picture of his friend with knives on him, saying in case anything happens, in case they're trying to maybe double cross him or whatever, take the watch off of him. It doesn't confirm it, but it adds more weight.
I know my son, he didn't look capable when you see the videos, and he wasn't a thief. We're just left with questions that we want to ask.
No, she doesn't want to believe her son was a thief. No one wants to think bad things, and maybe he wasn't, but he was posing all over Snapchat like a little gangster, being like, yeah, we just did this, we just did that. Like, he thought it was cool as fuck.
So online we have Ayub Kasim, who's giving evidence virtually. We also will have Lucy Law, that's giving evidence virtually. And then we have Bradley Gagan, the friend that's actually here at court, who will give live evidence. Those are the 3 out of the 5 witnesses that we managed to locate.
How are we in a situation where a kid's dead and 2 people won't fucking give evidence? Why not? Like, if nothing happened that is in any way dodgy, why would people refuse to fucking show up and give evidence? And people wonder why conspiracy theories are starting. It's like, this ain't fucking normal, this.
Mr. Kasim, how did it happen that Jay ended up in your Airbnb?
He asked if he could come with us.
Why was that?
He must have thought we were going to be up. Rocky sat in the passenger seat, Jay sat in the back, and I was driving.
At any point in this journey, were you making a detour to sell a watch?
No. One thing I'm sure is that Jay did not steal a watch.
Well, what about the original statement he made about the fucking watch being taken off a Romanian guy?
Not long after, I woke up again to a buzzing sound. I opened the door, and then they gestured to me to move my car.
And what was Jay doing at this time, please?
He was, I'm off, like. Then after I said, chill out, G, I'll drop you off. And he said, no, I'm going to see the boys, they're waiting for me.
Well, that's a fucking lie. Why is Jay lying to this guy and making an excuse to get away? Did they fucking follow up with any questions in any of this, by the way? Some inquest.
You received a video call from Jay walking down the main road. Can you describe what he was like at that point in time?
He told us, I'm going to come back down. He was asking if I had any drinks left at the apartment, and that was the last time I spoke to Jay.
Did you get the impression that he was in any way threatened or fearful?
No.
Jay Slater died on the 17th of June 2024 in the Juan Lopez Ravine in a remote area of the Tino Natural Park in Tenerife. Whilst attempting to descend the ravine, Jay Slater fell at a particularly dangerous area of difficult terrain and loose rock. Jay Slater fell approximately 20 to 25 metres, resulting in skull fractures, brain trauma, and from which he would have died instantly. There was no third-party involvement in Jay Slater's death.
So that's what they've settled on. It was an accidental death. And I get that's a possibility. I'm not saying necessarily that that's more or less likely. But to say that that's for a fact what happened, I don't think you can rule anything out, because there are so many strange things that happened around this that don't make sense. This isn't something that happens a lot, right? Kids don't just go out walking into the fucking Tenerife mountains and fall to their death for no and not need to walk in that direction. No one chasing them. Nothing that just doesn't happen every fucking day. Oh, he was on drugs. Loads of kids in Tenerife are on drugs. There's a lot of reason for people to be suspicious about this, but I understand why they've gone, we haven't got any evidence to say otherwise. We've got speculation, we've got strange things, but we can't prove any of it.
I do feel satisfied that I've got a closure. Now you've got all the facts together. And if he was scared, he would have said to one of his mates that he was scared. And
he did say, I can't go back though. Again, maybe he was just so fucked down the mountain. He was like, I don't even know if I can get back up there. Maybe. But I understand why the family are kind of like, okay, we've got some closure now, because at the end of the day, going through what they've been through with the way he died and the speculation around it, it's very difficult to go through, I'm sure. And then to add on to the fact that someone might have taken him from you can only make it 10 times harder. And I get why they'd go, you know what, I'm just glad it wasn't any foul play, and that even if there are things that are strange and don't necessarily add up, I'm kind of happy to just go with this and close the book on wondering why and how, because that can probably drive people insane. And at least this way they can just say, right, okay, we've got an explanation of some sort. Do I believe it? Obviously, I think it's possible, but I just don't, as I've said, I don't think for a fact you can say this definitely happened. This is exactly what happened. I don't think you can say that. But I'm happy for them to say that's the most likely outcome. Fair enough. But I think that this documentary could have done a lot more to piece together exactly what his movements were, who was talking to him, what was said to him, every little conversation and detail. What happened in all those 70 phone calls? There's a lot that could have been dug into here. And it seemed more focused on making it about the social media people who were speculating about it as if they were like terrible people, which some people probably were, but there was a lot of secrecy and strange things going on around this case, and everyone had a reason to speculate, for sure. And still do. But let me know what you thought of the documentary, of the case, and of the conclusion. I'm fascinated to know what you lot think. And am I wrong for having these questions? I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I just think this was such a massive case, and there are so many questions still. Let us know what you think in the comments below. If you haven't already, hit the like button. Subscribe to the True Geordie YouTube channel. I'll see you on the next one.